to Wake Up America. Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. We're glad to have you all in here today. Nice to see you. Don't forget, if you're watching this over on YouTube, make sure you click that like button to help us get supported out in people's feeds. Today's an exciting day, February 1st. It's also my sister's birthday. Happy birthday to Jody Peterson. We love you very much. You're a great little sister and an awesome mom, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. You're probably not even listening to the stream, but who cares anyway. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're glad to have you here today. First up, a green comet is headed towards Earth. Yes, for the first time since this Stone Age. No, don't panic. No, stop screaming. No, don't light that on fire. Just calm down, okay? Everything's going to be fine. We're not all going to die, but tonight is the only time that humanity in its modern age will be able to see this green comet. So if you want to get a chance to see it, tonight is your chance. First time in 50,000 years that this comet has come close enough to be observable towards Earth, but it's not going to kill us all. I know Chris Morrill is probably like, yeah, a little disappointed, right? But yeah, we're all going to survive. We'll talk about that at the top of the show. And then Bill Maher, he is now trending on Twitter for sort of what we were discussing yesterday, not the climate change stuff. I played for you yesterday some of the clips where he talks about the hypocrisy of left liberals who fly on private jets around the world to go to climate conferences, burning up fossil fuels more than you'll ever burn in your entire lifetime with any diesel truck you will own. These climate hypocrites. No. Today, Bill Maher is actually getting slammed by the left and is trending on Twitter for being, get this, a reactionary right-wing culture warrior. What? I'll play some of the clips that led the left to that conclusion and why I think he's starting to become more based. Oh, I need a holy man sound or some angels singing sound, right? This is as close as I get right there. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. And then J.D. Vance, who you all know I'm not the biggest fan of, the recently elected Republican senator from the state of Ohio, wrote an awesome piece in the Wall Street Journal about why he supports Donald Trump. I know, Chris Morrill's already in there. I know, Chris, I hope you're here this morning. We're talking about you a lot today. But the fact is, the reasons why I think are indisputable for any good liberty lover. We'll talk at 7:35 about the jobs that are most likely to be replaced by artificial intelligence. I did a short little 60-second video about it last night. If you haven't seen some of my YouTube shorts, make sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and check out my shorts playlist. I've now created several new series of shorts. Last night, I also released a new Guns of the President video featuring a gift of a 1911 Colt 45 pistol to Richard Nixon from a king, no less. It's a great story. You definitely don't want to miss that. I've also started a new series called Techno Bites alongside my Philosophites series. So I've got a historic Guns of the President's video series going, Philosophites, philosophy explainer videos going, and now my new series, Techno Bites. And last night I did a nice little quick explainer on some of the jobs that are in danger right now due to this new technology. I mean, it's literally just exploded on the scene in the last couple of months. So we'll talk about that at 7:35 and see if your job is safe. And at 7:51 this morning, parents were arrested for letting their kids walk to Dunkin' Donuts. I kid you not. What? Yeah, we just live in the age of helicopter parenting where typically we are used to parents who, put diapers on their kids until they're 16 years old. The children breastfeed until they're 21 or 27 years old now until they get off their parents' health insurance. At 8 o'clock this morning, Judge Anna Napolitano joins us on the show. Are we excited for the judge? I thought you might be. Well, he's going to talk about the ever-lowering standards for hiring for law enforcement. In the wake of the death of Tyre Nichols, we'll be discussing that case, get the judge's take on it as a former Superior Court judge in New Jersey. And he'll talk to us about the shrinking standards for hiring and recruitment of law enforcement. All of that and more. You don't want to miss that. Hey, good morning to my brother, Justin Peterson. Nice to see you. Good morning, Justin. My brother is there today. Make sure you say hi to my bro. And his birthday is going to be on February the 8th. So make sure you give him a nice round of applause. And don't miss his birthday on February 8th. Send him a tweet or a message. I'm sure that he will appreciate that. She's 21 and her daughter is 15 years old. I repeat, she's 21 and her daughter is 15 years old. How does that work, you might ask? Well, you're going to have to wait until 8:23. You know, we call that in the business, we call that a tease. You're going to have to wait until 8:23 to find out how this young lady is 21 years old and has a daughter who's 15 years old. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but we'll explain that. And I think you'll be really surprised when you find out why. Good morning, Hi-Fi Cat, Amanda Henry, Elizabeth Press, Chris Morrill. You can see our friend Nathan Clark is in studio today. Everybody give him a round of applause as well. There you go. Nathan is a new employee, a new hire. He just started here on Monday, and today's his third day. We're getting him trained up this week on getting everything set for the shop. And once the shop is up and running, we'll start slowly introducing him to content creation and helping me run the show. So, everybody, one more round of applause and a big hooray for Nathan Clark, our very first employee. You know, the only reason Nathan is able to be here is because of the financial support of people like you. So I just want to say thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to grow and to expand. This is the beginning of our own Libertarian Daily Wire, and Nathan's going to help to make that happen. At 8:30 this morning, Daniella Pentsak, she's our Turning Point USA field coordinator, is going to talk to us about a teacher in New Jersey who got fired, thankfully, for bursting into tears in class all the time. Apparently, this is something that was very common for her, just randomly bursting into tears, like airing her issues and her problems for her students. Right? Like, I'm sorry, but like, teaching is not therapy. Okay. This is not your opportunity to air your problems to your students in your class. All right. Like, get a life. All right. All right. So, what do you think? Send us a text at 573 319 1586. That's 573 319. We want to hear from you today. If 573-319-1586 is the text line. You can also send us super chats if you want to help support the show. And you can do that over on YouTube at youtube.com/AP for Liberty. All right. So enough dithering and and blithering. A recently discovered green comet is going to zip by Earth for the first time in 50,000 years. It was last visible in the night sky during the Stone Age. If I could have the rights to it, I would play that theme song from, what is it, 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it's like dun 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 dum 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 dum. The bone hits. That was the last time that we could actually see this comet with a fur all over our faces. Now, I know some of the creationists in the audience right now are saying, no, I didn't come from no monkey. Okay, well, fine. But 50,000, allegedly, Neil Patrick Harris or Neil deGrasse Tyson, whoever it was, Doogie Howser, decided that 50,000 years ago is the last time that we could see this. So if you want to see it tonight, you can check it out. Coming in the night sky. It was actually discovered on March 2nd. So it's a recent discovery. The comet has an orbit around the sun that passes through the outer reaches of the solar system, which is why it's taken such a long route and a long time to swing by Earth again. This is according to the Planetary Society. It's an icy celestial object, and it's going to make its closest pass by Earth tonight, but it's still about 100 times the moon's distance away from Earth. So not actually going to be that whole panic scenario, screaming, running around our heads on fire. We don't have to worry about sending Ben Affleck up in a spaceship with a nuclear weapon to blow it up. So I can close my eyes just to hear you breathing. We don't got to worry about that. We're going to be able to survive tonight. But if you want to see this beautiful comet, which is going to be like apparently absolutely gorgeous because the ice will be melting to a certain degree because of its proximity to the sun, then you can see it most likely as a faint green smudge near the star Polaris, which is, of course, the North Star. The comet's going to reflect different colors as well, so it could be a beautiful rainbow shower as well as mostly green, but there could be a lot of other colors as well that will be reflecting off of the essentially creating little rainbows as it melts while it goes past our orbit. The early morning skies are going to be the best opportunity to see the comet tonight. And so after midnight tonight is going to be your best chance. But if you get up really bright and early, like Nathan and I do now these days, then as soon as you get up, make sure you take a look up, find the North Star, and then look for a little smudge near the North Star, and you should be able to see the comet. And it will be moving. So that's going to be your best bet to see it first thing in the morning tomorrow morning, nice and early. And so since you're on an early crew for the morning show, you've probably got a good chance to see it. I'm Jason Burdett. I didn't come from no monkey's butt. Oh, you guys are cracking me up. It's a little early for those kinds of jokes. Glad to have you here today. Amanda Henry and everybody will have you sticking around here with us for a few minutes. All right. So why is Bill Maher getting attacked on Twitter? I know I saw Amanda over in the live stream today saying, "Oh, Bill Maher, I can't stand him. He's the reason the left is so bad." Yeah, he has certainly contributed in a large part to the downfall of the United States as it is today, if you're from a conservative or libertarian viewpoint. But I have to say, lots of people can change their minds about things, and I think Bill Maher is starting to change his minds on things, which of course has made him an enemy number one to people like Mehdi Hassan. Listen to this. The left has come out in force against Bill Maher, arguing he is a right-wing culture warrior, who made racist comments against minorities. And here's his biggest crime. He had a, quote, smug face to boot, which, if anybody knows anything about smug faces.
How dare you?
It's me. Bill Maher trended Tuesday on the social media platform Twitter after they announced that Maher's new segment Overtime will air on Friday during CNN Tonight. But even before Maher's deal with CNN became public, he was already kind of a punching bag for the left after he came out against woke education and he accused environmentalist celebrities of hypocrisy. Now, I've got the clip of him talking to Bryan Cranston from Breaking Bad and Malcolm in the Middle. It's like a really long podcast interview, and it's a little bit rambling because Maher smokes weed during it. And I don't want to play it during this opening segment of the show just because YouTube has been cracking down on content that is of adult nature that's in the very first part of the show. So we're going to wait until the first commercial break before I play some of the clips of Bryan Cranston talking to Bill Maher, and also give you the opportunity, if you do have some kids who are listening this morning who, there's going to be an F word here or there. And so I just want to make sure that you know that that's coming and that you can kind of prepare for that. And, we'll just push that off a little bit. So let's just talk about why he's trending. MSNBC host Mehdi Hassan has said that Bill Maher is a racist, which of course is slang code word for being based, aka godlike. Anyone that the left calls racist, you can automatically assume is probably a good person and or just white. Bill Maher is obsessed with the idea that, quote, cancel culture is out of control, which is, that's racist. That's racist as hell. It has nothing to do with race, but it must be racist, right? Maher just got this new CNN gig despite saying outrageous things about Muslims, which is not a race, Arabs, which questionable. Is that a race? I'm pretty sure that's there's like pan-Arabs. There's like multiple different types of races, like multi-ethnicity within Arabism, if I'm incorrect. Correct me on that one. And trans people, which is not a race. Making crass jokes about Asians, okay, racial. And using the N-word on TV. How dare you, Bill Maher? That word is only for us. Only people like Mehdi Hassan can say that. Wait a minute. Mehdi Hassan, what kind of name is that? Anna Maxa, we got to give you a round of applause. Thank you very much, Anna Maxa. You the man. We love seeing tip donations like that help to go to pay the salary of people like Nathan Clark so he can make awesome merchandise. So we do love our super chats over there, and we'd like to give you a big shout out and applause. So thank you for that. All right. So they're mad. Mehdi Hassan is upset because, he says that Bill Maher is a reactionary right-wing white man who shouts the loudest, and they always seem to do fine for themselves. Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks, says Bill Maher is actually perfect for CNN, to be honest. False equivalencies, dropping up right-wing culture war talking points, fighting for the status quo, and that smug face. Boy, they can't stand the smug faces on white men. If there's anything what we need to do is we need to just terrify the left and just take like thousands and thousands of pictures of white men like myself just looking as smug as possible and just like beam it into their television sets, and it's like oh Fortuna, right? So it would be like the end of the world. We could completely destroy the left just by beaming our smug white faces into their television sets every day. All right, fine, Austin. Take a break, all right? Stop being so smug and using up all your airtime when you got commercials because you got to pay the bills. Okay, well, here's the deal. I'm going to go to commercial break. When I get back, I'm going to play those Bill Maher clips. There are some F-bombs. It will be rather smug. So if you don't like smug white guys saying the N-word or F-words, this might not be for you. Okay, I don't think he says the N-word, but there is an F-bomb in there, okay? So just be prepared. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts
than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Nice to see you all here today. Oh man, studio audience. You guys are always so friendly. Appreciate you all. Thanks for the applause. We actually got a comment from our friends over on Rumble. We don't hear from you guys very often, but sometimes we do. Eco Man this morning over on Rumble sent in a comment. He says, about that story about the teachers airing out to their students their problems, this cannot be more true. Listen to this. My second grader's teacher did this with her class. This, along with other things, caused us to homeschool our children. Go, man. We're going to talk to our friend Daniella Pentsak about that show, about that on the program here a little bit later. You don't want to miss that. Make sure you send us a text, 573-319-1586 if you've got a question for us. And we will gladly share that with either Judge Napolitano or Daniella Pentsak when she comes up on the show today. Also, hello to our friends over on Twitch. Yes, we see you over there. Even though the big crew is over on YouTube, all of the chats get collated and brought up into the live stream on the screen, as you can see. Sir Leviticus 6'9". How funny. I get the joke. 69. We are a morning show, though, but isn't that a little bit of a contradiction, though, with Leviticus and 69? Don't you get punished in Leviticus for... I know, probably it's a little bit early for that, but we are going to have a bit of a curse word, though, in the next segment here as I play the reason why the left is coming out hard against liberal Bill Maher. It's not just what he said about climate change, but it's comments like these on race. Take a listen. Hmm. Racist. You see, and that's the problem there. Let's pause for just a moment. So, Bill Maher claiming that the United States is too heavily focused on race and that we have a monofocus on race. This is something that I've been saying for a long time, is that this country is obsessed with race and that everything has to boil down and bake down to race. I mean, that's what the 1619 Project is about. That's what critical race theory is about, right? Is that intrinsically everything lies down to our race, which is fascinatingly interesting when you consider that that is also the same ideology that is held by white supremacists and national socialists, that everything intrinsically boils down to race. I mean, ask yourself this question on the bigger picture here. Like, do you believe in nature or do you believe in nurture? Or is it more a mix of both? Right? And, is it truly that philosophical question of give me the child and I'll give you the man? Or is it that we have immutable traits or characteristics based on the genetic components that make up our racial qualities? If you agree with people like Mehdi Hassan or Ilhan Omar or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, you're also agreeing with Nick Fuentes and Adolf Hitler and with Joseph Goebbels and with others who believe that you are intrinsically a Jew racially, and therefore you will never be anything but a Jew, and you will always be a subclass of this or that, right? The left does the exact same thing. Critical race theory does the exact same thing, right? And I am more ascribed to the philosophy of Martin Luther King Jr., right? We don't that that we should look at people based on their character rather than the color of their skin. Now, not all white people do that. Some white people are racist and racially obsessed, right? But in the white community, that isn't the majority of white people, right? Those people get ostracized and demonized and put to the left. They aren't leading rallies. After the Charlottesville event, those people were all run out of town on a rail. They can't get jobs, right? Remember what happened to, what was that guy? Christopher, what's his name? The big fat pudgy guy, used to be an anarchist. ANCAP ran on with the New Hampshire guy, pyramid piles of whatever, right? Chris Morrill knows what I'm talking about. Whatever. That guy, right? Nobody's ever heard or seen from him. He went to federal jail, I think, for like drug and gun charges or something. Right. And remember all those guys who were marching around with the torches, the tiki torches that they bought for $3 at the Ace Hardware. Jews will not replace us and stuff. Those guys they're not going to work in professional careers. They're not leading the Republican Party. They're not speaking on stage at CPAC. But the racists of the left, the largest, loudest racists that come on the left, are the proponents of the left-wing ideologies. They are the congressmen, right? Ilhan Omar is a racist. She is a member of Congress. The Democrats elect their racists. The Republicans run them out of town, right? They don't put them at the head of their television networks or make them their spokespeople like the left does. That's the difference between the left and the right, is that racists like Mehdi Hassan and Cenk Uygur, who believe that everything is intrinsic and tied back to your race, those people are the head of the left of the Democratic movement, right? Not so for the right. But this is why the left doesn't want to hear him say this, because they must make everything about race. They are just like Nick Fuentes and other white supremacists, just of a different skin color. Hilarious. So Bill Maher sets this guy up perfectly, asks this question, do you agree? Finishes it up, and this white guy's like, wah, 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 wah. He doesn't know what the hell to say. We have problems that go deeper than race, right? So let's hear what he has to say. Listen to this guy stutter. Oh, you're not hearing the audio on Bill Maher? Okay. So that's see, that's why I'm so glad to have Nathan and Clark. You can probably at least hear the StreamYard going. All right, let's give him a round of applause. Okay, but you know what? There is a way to fix that. We can rebuild him. We can make him better. Bada bing, bada boom, and now you've got audio. Listen to this. I'll go ahead and play it over. I kind of feel like such an idiot. Here we go.
This week, people learned the names of a couple of cities here in California, Half Moon Bay and Monterey Park was the other one, right? And, these shootings happen. We go through this ritual where then we wait for them to announce the race of the shooter. Like we're waiting for the Oscar nominations. Because that's, somehow to a lot of people the most important thing. And I just thought it was very interesting that this week, Asians were killed by Asians. 2 Asian men who were, 66 and 72. And then this week, we just got this video of the Memphis 5. A black man is brutally beaten
it looks like
in
it's popping up
Memphis
for
by
me.
5 cops. They're all black.
I didn't want to hear
I guess
Tim
what I'm
Ryan
asking
anyhow,
is
somebody says.
America's culture
That's
of
odd. It's
violence,
popping up
it
in
does
mine,
go
but it's
deeper
not showing
than
in
race.
the audio. All right, well,
right? And I think
try
this
one more thing for you.
monofocus we have on race is short-circuiting us trying to fix some of the realer problems. Would you agree?
Not quite sure what's going on. I'll see if I can fix this
definitely
for you guys. We'll go ahead and switch out of that view. Well,
concerns
anyway, so
here, and
essentially,
this is an opportunity
Bill
for us to
Maher's
have that
point
conversation.
is that
The conversation about
we were
mental health.
We've
the
been focused
conversation
on
about
race as a
guns,
monofocus.
the
I mean, I pretty much
conversation
explained
about
what I was saying in my freedom rant
the
anyway.
cops,
I'm
and
sorry.
the stress-
I'm not
and the stress
perfect.
the cops are, and I'm
Sometimes
not
things
denying
break
these
down
guys,
on this
of
show,
course,
and it's just going to have
this
to
was a
happen. But at least, thank God, I've got an assistant in here to yell at me and tell me that things are falling apart. Okay? All right. I'm going to go to my commercial break. And when I get back, I will fix the audio, and maybe I'll be able to play it for you. Oh, it was working? Okay, thank God. We can hear Bill. Okay, yeah, sometimes there's a delay. All right. So I've got more of Bill Maher later. Now that I've got it working. Thought it was. People, I'm having a stroke. You think you're having a stroke? Well, I'm having a heart attack, okay? We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Can you hear me now? Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. We got a new milestone. The YouTube channel this morning just passed 16,000 subscribers. Very excited. Oh yes, the analytics data is looking quite nice. 1.7 million views in the last 30 days. 5.4 thousand new subscribers in the last 30 days. Boy, oh boy, that is really good stuff. And today is the day that YouTube is going to start monetizing these little short videos that I've been producing that have driven the traffic up that high. So hopefully that will put us on the path towards sustainability. We're not sustainable yet, but we are almost there, and it's thanks to the good support of people like yourself. What I'd like to ask today, I'd like to ask one favor. I'd like to ask one person today, if I can get it. My goal by the end of the show is to get one person to become a monthly subscriber. Now, that can be either a Freedom Ninja here on YouTube for $2.99 a month. It can be a $17.76 a month supporter over at wakeupamericashow.com/support. If you don't want to give any of your money to YouTube and you want the majority of it to go to me and Nathan, then head over to the website wakeupamericashow.com/support. And you can click on a monthly donation level over there to help us to build a libertarian version of the Daily Wire. That's what I want. My long-term goal, is to get to the point where I can take the film script that I just wrote using artificial intelligence a few weeks ago and produce an actual motion picture. I have actually completed, although, it's got to go through rewrites, a script based around the story of the life of Lysander Spooner, which, if you know anything about him, he's got an incredible story about him battling with the federal government over creating the very first competition to the post office. If you'd like to see a movie like that get made one day, this is your chance. Help make it happen. Head over to wakeupamericashow.com/support. Become a monthly subscriber. The more monthly subscribers we get, the more guaranteed revenue cash flow we get, the more employees we can bring on, the more likely the chance is that I can do my 2-hour show, have a complete crew setting it up, breaking it down, and then I can go off and I can start shooting in the afternoon to get that film production up for you. Wouldn't you like to see some libertarian movies? How would you like to see an awesome film about the life of Frederick Bastiat that actually brings him to life? Or Murray Rothbard, dramatic film starring the story of Ludwig von Mises' escape from the Nazis, right? And him becoming the hero of Austrian economics that he was today. Those stories have yet to be told. And quite frankly, I believe that I am the person to tell those stories. And if you believe in me, then support me now and head over to wakeupamericashow.com/support. So that's what I'm asking, at least one person to become a monthly subscriber. And you can do that either on the YouTube channel here and become a subscriber here, or if you want like basically 99% of your money instead of 70% of your money to support us, then do it over at the wakeupamericashow.com/support page. Okay, now I know for sure, I'd watch that, says Nathan Clark. Of course you would. You'd probably be helping produce it, buddy. Any amount is helpful, says my beautiful wife, Stephanie. Good morning, Stephanie. Hope you're doing well today. Nice to see you. All right. And for those of you who didn't get to hear the Bill Maher clip because I was idiot earlier, I didn't play the audio. Let's go ahead and do that now so that you get a chance to listen.
This week, people learned the names of a couple of cities here in California, Half Moon Bay and Monterey Park was the other one, right? And, these shootings happen. We go through this ritual where then we wait for them to announce the race of the shooter. Like we're waiting for the Oscar nominations. Because that's, somehow to a lot of people the most important thing. And I just thought it was very interesting that this week, Asians were killed by Asians. 2 Asian men who were, 66 and 72. And then this week, we just got this video of the Memphis 5. A black man is brutally beaten in Memphis by 5 cops. They're all black. I guess what I'm asking is, America's culture of violence, it does go deeper than race. Right? And I think this monofocus we have on race is short-circuiting us trying to fix some of the realer problems. Would you agree?
Well,
no, I would not agree, because if I did, I would get murdered. There you go. So that is the ultimate heresy, right? To the racists of the left and the racists of the right. You have to understand that the white supremacists disagree with Bill about that. The white nationalists, the Nazis, right, of which are a tiny minority of people here in the United States, those people don't agree with Bill Maher there. They believe that the root problems in the United States are racially caused, right? If there's one thing that Nazis and commies agree on, it's that the root problems of the United States are generated by race, are racial problems, right? It's just that Nick Fuentes and his cast of crews and the Groypers, right? They all believe that it's black people or Asian people or minorities or immigrants, Hispanics, Latinos, whatever you want to call them, whichever, pick your favorite hated minority from the right. And then, of course, the left believes that the racial problems of the United States are intrinsically a problem created by white people, right? So if you're a liberal, or if you're a libertarian, or if you're an open-minded conservative, or at least, if you're a true conservative, then you would agree with Bill Maher that the problems of the United States go much deeper than race. They go much deeper than race, right? It's not to say that it's not to to minimize the problems that are caused by race, or to say that it isn't a problem at all, but to say that the reason why Tyre Nichols was beaten to death, not because he was a black man. White men, white women are beaten to death and murdered by police every single day in this country. Happened, just like I discussed yesterday, happened in Sedalia, Missouri, just a couple of years ago. Young woman, police said that they thought she had a gun. Oh, we thought she's got a gun. He's coming right for us. Blasted her. Killed her in cold blood. All right? That's a problem that goes deeper than race. Well, did they kill her because she was a woman? Right? Is it a problem of gender in this country that police are killing people? No, it's not. The problems go deeper, and that's why I'm looking forward to talking to Judge Andrew Napolitano here in just a few minutes. Now, in terms of why the left is so mad at Bill Maher, it's comments like these. Now, this is where things get a little hairy in terms of language. So let's continue.
My point being that people just don't grow up overnight. Society doesn't.
It does.
More racism.
But for God's sakes, it's time. It's 400 fucking years that we've dealt with this.
Oh.
And our country still has not taken responsibility or accountability.
For what?
For the history of the systemic racism that's in this country.
What should we do more?
Well, I mean, for one thing, critical race theory, I think, is essential to be teaching.
It depends on what you mean by that.
Well, I mean teaching how the race trade and racism is systemic in everything we've done in government, in social activities.
Yes, it has been.
I mean, it's embedded in it.
It's like, for example, why the Second Amendment really was, I mean, this is one person's theory, but I think it's the truth. The Second Amendment really has to do with, in a country where you were keeping a hostile people in chains,
yeah,
you needed guns you needed very loose reins on guns to keep the lid on that.
Yeah.
So that has a lot to do with why other countries don't have like a Second Amendment the way we do.
And we didn't have an organized army. We didn't have an organized militia, so you had to form one quickly and be able to get your arms quickly when we were being attacked.
Exactly.
So,
but critical.
Like Ukraine, for example, like I love the liberal hypocrisy on the Second Amendment when it comes to Ukraine. Like hand out full autos, AK-47s to civilians on the streets of Ukraine. But whatever you do, don't allow American citizens to be able to have them. I mean, what do they expect to happen if the United States was ever invaded? God forbid. Like, oh, well then, yeah, then it's okay for you to have an AK-47, dude. Then it's too late, you morons.
Critical race theory can mean it's just one of these catch-all.
See, that's the thing. And these people like Bill Maher and Bryan Cranston, like they've got armed guards, right? They're some of the safest people on earth. They don't have to worry about their security. They can afford to pay for private security to stand outside the gate and to have some checkpoint. I will never forget that some of the celebrities' houses that I've been to, of like the few that I've been able to visit, like you go through like layers of security to get to their house, right? Like you go into like housing complexes where you go in, there's a guard that checks you at the gate. And then there's an inner circle where you have to go through another guard and a checkpoint and your gate. And they have to have everybody's names on a list before you can go in. And then that person, that celebrity's house who I'm thinking of right now, they still had guns at their house in order to be able to defend themselves in case somebody happened to get there. These are some of the safest people on earth, and that they dare They dare to say to people like yourself and myself, who anybody can just walk up to your or my house or my door and just like kick the door in or bust in a window and point a gun on our head and just execute us right there. They dare to say to people like us, oh, well, the reason why you have guns here is because your ancestors had slaves and were trying to trying to ensure that there were slaves. They were somebody go run the numbers. Or go ask ChatGPT about how many slave owners were there in the United States compared to the total population of the United States back in the day? Answer that for me. What was it, like 75 or what, per capita or something like that? It was like a tiny, tiny minority of people in the United States that were actually slave owners here in the United States compared to the total population. And of course, the majority of people here in the United States who are alive here today, ancestors came way past the time that slavery had already been. Like, I'm sorry. I just, all right, I'll shut up. We'll continue. This is Bryan Cranston and Bill Maher in his podcast, and they're talking about critical race theory. And of course, Bryan Cranston has, swallowed the entire woke narrative on this
terms. If you mean we should honestly teach our past, of course. If you mean more what the 1619 book says, which is that it's just the essence of America and that we are irredeemable, that's just wrong. It's not.
I mean,
okay.
yeah, right. I agree with that. But even teaching our past and being honest and owning up to who we are as a country and the history of it.
Most schools are doing that. I mean, I'm sure there are ones in Texas that are not.
Look, in Florida, they want to do away with critical race theory in a lot of other states.
Because sometimes it veers off into things that are really not appropriate in schools.
So how do you govern that?
If you're telling 5-year-olds that you're either an oppressor or someone who was oppressed, you're introducing ideas about race that are inappropriate for kids that age who can't understand it.
Okay, so common sense would govern
Common sense is what's lacking in this country.
Yes. You need.
That is why people wind up passing laws about that. And yes, you're right. Very often the laws go too far, but it's not coming out. It's not coming from nothing.
Right.
It's coming from things that have.
See, Bill Maher is the last true liberal, right? Like the actual liberal, right? So he's not somebody who believes in laissez-faire like you and I, right? It's not like that. It's about it's about a belief in a philosophy of openness, right? He's having an open discussion here. He's one of the last few liberals in that you can actually have an open conversation with Bill Maher. And even if he disagrees with you, he'll still hear you out. He might tell you, he might say, oh, that's a stupid idea, but he's not going to question your intelligence or just paint you as a racist or necessarily, call you names or shout you down like the majority of the left does now. I mean, this is true liberalism here, right? Amanda Henry over in the live stream says, all CRT does is teach people to hate whites. I tend to agree with you. Justin Peterson says 1.6% of the United States population owned slaves in 1860. Wow. I see. There you go. Thank you for that information. 1.6%, which, seems honestly that would have been higher than my guess, to be quite honest. 1.6% of the population. Now, here's another question for you on the numbers. What percentage of the United States, of the citizens in the United States that are alive today, had ancestors that were slaveholders? And what percent? And it'd be a much higher population of the African Americans who were slaves. But what population are actually related here today in the United States were related to people whose ancestors actually held slaves? I bet that's even smaller because of all the people who came over during the progressive eras, our Peterson ancestors, right? Who came over at the height of the progressive era in the early 1900s, if you will. All right, let's continue on. This is good
started
stuff.
In colleges and very far left woke thinking that many people feel is not appropriate in schools. I mean, the same thing with gender stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can they just be kids for a minute?
Thank you.
Okay.
Pause. Thank you right there. Just let them be kids. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is common sense, right? No person that I know is saying specifically that we shouldn't be teaching kids in school about Black history, right? You may find retarded Democrats here in in Missouri, for example, like that Piper from Missouri chick who actually goes out and says Republicans don't want to teach about race or slavery in schools. That's not true at all. They absolutely do, because you can't have a conversation about the Civil War without having a conversation about race or slavery. And those concepts tend to get introduced to us around middle school age, about fifth or sixth grade, all the way up until high school. And we learn about that. And then when you go to college, you learn about it in AP college history class. Right? As a matter of fact, my AP college history class and advanced history classes, it was a black woman who spent the majority of the time talking about race and slavery in the United States and the Civil War and Jim Crow and things like that. And I thought it was absolutely fascinating. And that's a good age to be able to process that kind of stuff, because when you're 5 years old, you don't get it, right? You're more concerned about what flavor bubble gum you're going to find out that your teacher's going to give you before you go to recess that day, right? Is it going to be Fruit Stripes gum, or is it going to be Zebra Stripes gum? All right, shut up, Austin. Let's go.
And that's absolutely. And we have to find that time, that level of maturity when a child can understand that at certain times in this country's history, there was a grave mistreatment of other human beings.
Oh, man. See, my brother over there in the live stream, we got to give him some props, because he's got some good points over there. My brother, like, if you think that I have a big IQ, no, it's like big brain time is nothing when Justin comes around. He's got like 150 plus. He says, also, how much blood was shed in the Civil War? Are those corpses not a reckoning? Okay, I mean, great question there, because ask yourself this. I mean, if you had an ancestor who fought in the Civil War, who died in the Civil War, right? Isn't that a reparation right there? Like the blood that was shed by your ancestor? And because ask a leftist this, was the Civil War about slavery? They'll say yes. If the Civil War was about slavery, then if your ancestor died fighting to end slavery, which that person would have to say, well, yes, they died fighting to end slavery if they fought for the North. My ancestor fought for the South. We'll talk about that. But if they did, then that means that that person offered a reparation. The reparation was paid for in the blood of that citizen. Great. Justin, man. Yeah. Justin needs his own show. I was actually going to tell Justin that he needs to start his own YouTube channel. This is the year to start a YouTube channel. And Justin, you need your own YouTube channel, dude. You need to be doing your own live streams, and you need to be doing your own shorts and all this kind of stuff, because I tell you, you would have a big audience, I think even bigger than me. All right, continue. So good.
I think we get that.
Well, no, we don't get it. What do you mean you get it?
Really? You think that is not something that is now widely understood and agreed?
Yeah, it's definitely not widely understood.
That America has a sorry racist past?
It's talked about and whispered, but they don't know.
Whispered?
Yes.
It's shouted
the Jim
from the
Crow
rooftops.
laws. So
that's 100 years
Emancipation
ago.
Proclamation in 1865. It was 1965 or in 1964 when the Civil Rights Act was passed by LBJ.
But this is 2023.
Yeah.
It took 100 years.
I know, but
is my point.
Can we live in the year we're living in?
Yeah.
You don't think?
Of course you live in the year you're living in.
Okay, well, the year we're living in is not.
Drive me to drink.
It's not what you're describing. You're describing in America, yes, that I think most right-thinking people would agree was deplorable in so many ways. No, I'm good.
You good?
It's tasty, though.
It is good.
It's very different, and I like it.
It's a little
You can tell Bill's a little sloshed on this one, and he's got a big giant blunt in his hand. So, sorry for the explicit drug and alcohol usage on the morning show. I try and keep things PC, but you know what? This is just so good. It's just so good. Unfortunately, I have to cut it off there, though, because I got to go to a commercial break. I know, it sucks. I got to get paid. Did anybody sign up for a monthly subscription? I don't know if we did. Right? That's my goal. By the end of the show, get at least one person to sign up for a monthly subscription to help us build the Libertarian Daily Wire. We start with the Wake Up America show. We hire an employee, Nathan, who's over there working right now. He's building up the shop so that we can build a nice big revenue stream. The shorts go viral, right? The 1 minute shorts go viral. The live stream gets more people that come in from the shorts. We make more money, we grow more. We build more staff, we hire more people. We build more shows, we make more money. We make more money, we make movies. We make movies, we make documentaries, we make a Libertarian Daily Wire. You want to make it happen? Help make it happen. Head to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support today. Sign up for even just a $5 a month pledge. That's not too much, is it? To help secure the future of freedom, to have a free press, a libertarian media organization headed by yours truly, me, AP. Wouldn't you love to see it? WakeUpAmericaShow.com/support. Do it now. Do it for the future of your country. Do it if you love America. And do it if you love me. Oh, we'll be back with Judge Napolitano to talk about the beating to death of Tyre Nichols, as well as the future of law enforcement here in the United States. These standards keep dropping. I don't know how much lower they can go. On the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Good morning to the Cantina crew. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I tell that to George W. Bush. He says, "Good morning, rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. My next guest should need no introduction to big fans of the show. His name is Judge Andrew Napolitano, one of the foremost, most prominent defenders of the ideas of personal liberty and economic freedom here in the United States, and my good personal friend. Judge Andrew Napolitano is judging us now. He will judge us.
That's a new one. Good morning, Austin. It's a pleasure to be with you and your viewers and listeners.
Glad to have you here, Judge. We've got a nice big audience for you today, which I'm excited to see. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you click like on that stream so that other people can join us as well and hear the judge's point of view. It's big brain time. Time to put on your thinking caps and have a conversation. First things first, Judge, I'd like to ask you your thoughts. I didn't watch the video of the beating to death of Tyre Nichols. I don't think it's possible for me to hate the government anymore. But just for my own personal mental health reasons, I can't watch it. But I just wonder, Judge, after what happened with the pandemic, where churches were being shuttered by agents of the state, and with an understanding that the law being perverted and the police powers of the state perverted along with it, knowing that when things like this happen, that things continue to stay the same and nothing changes, is there ever any hope that we might get some actual reform for these militarized agents of the state who have been sent swither to swarms of officers to eat out our substance, Judge?
Sadly, probably not. I mean, if a tragedy like this, the public recorded murder of an innocent young man with no rational basis whatsoever and no legal argument to support it whatsoever, does not change people's minds. Nothing will, unless this stuff just keeps happening over and over again. And it seems like it does happen over and over again. The American public has been raised to give the government the benefit of the doubt. Of course, that's the opposite of what it should be. Government consists of a monopoly of force in a geographic area that steals property and steals freedom. It should therefore not have the benefit of the doubt. It should never have the benefit of the doubt. The benefit of the doubt should be with whoever the government's adversary is. But the concept that police can go about doing as they wish, and then they enjoy qualified immunity, meaning if Mr. Nichols' family wants to sue, the city of Memphis and the state of Tennessee are on the hook, not the cops who actually did this. So step one is to remove qualified immunity so that when cops abuse their authority, they have their personal assets on the hook. Maybe step one is the model in 15 square blocks in the most left-wing and over-regulated city in the United States of America where there are private police. That would be San Francisco, California. Our mutual friend and colleague Ed Stringham has written a 450-page masterpiece on how well private policing works. Now, it doesn't decrease your taxes. The city of San Francisco is not going to lower your real estate taxes because the people in this 15 square block area have hired an insurance company, which has hired a private police department, and the cops don't go in there. The San Francisco cops don't go in there. There is no crime. There's no police abuse in there because the cops, I'm doing air quotes, work for the homeowners. They're not gonna harm the people that they work for, or they'll lose their jobs. That combined with the right to keep and bear arms, to defend yourself, to own, use, and carry the same level of mechanical firearms that the government has. That's not me, that's Justice Scalia in the Heller decision, might be a step toward private police, a private militia. But how we can tolerate what these guys did to this person and still continue to fund the police departments that do it is beyond me. It'll take a cataclysm to bring about the change that we need.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. The judge is the host of a show called Judging Freedom, which you can download on any of your mobile devices, and also read his weekly column at judgenap.com. Now, Judge, I know you've got a column out this week, and you mentioned it, George W. Bush, before we started this segment. That's why I was kind of laughing about it.
I didn't mean to make you laugh just as you were going on air, and I mentioned that I was being snarky about Bush a little too late in our chit chat.
No, it's just fine, Judge. I appreciate that. People like to see the humanness, I think, in our show and our relationship. So, Judge, tell us about your column this week over at judgenap.com.
Well, I don't know if most Americans realize this, but the government is engaged in plea bargaining with Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the second person that the government claims planned, plotted, paid for, and orchestrated the attacks on 9/11. First, it said it was Osama bin Laden, and then when that didn't seem to bear up with evidence, they blamed it on Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. They tortured him for 2 years. They didn't tell him anything that they didn't already know. And he's been awaiting trial along with 4 of his colleagues in Guantanamo Bay. Last year, the government decided it could not prosecute him. It could not hold a public trial without having to defend America's imperialism and wars of opportunity and torture and lies and killing, all in the name of national security and justified by a series of American presidents. So the lawyers in the Defense Department and the DOJ that are prosecuting this case have gone to Joe Biden saying, we have to enter into a plea agreement. Now, old Joe doesn't want anything to do with this. He's washing his hands of it, saying, you guys decide. Let Merrick Garland decide. I'm not going to touch this hot potato. But the American public needs to know the reason they're not prosecuting the person who they say orchestrated the murders of 3,000 Americans is because of George W. Bush's regime of torture and the government's inability to defend that regime in a public courtroom. Because every time torture has reared its head at Gitmo, non-9/11 cases, nobody at Gitmo has been tried for 9/11. The Devil's Island is there just as an excuse. It was originally a torture chamber till the FBI showed up and said, we can't be involved in this stuff because we'll get prosecuted. But every time they've tried someone for a non-9/11 event at Gitmo, and the person has told the jury what the government did to that person, even hardened military types on the juries have begged the court for clemency. That's what they're afraid of in the Khalid Sheikh Mohammed case, and that's why they've engaged in plea bargaining. And this has not been on the front pages, and the American public needs to know about it. It's all the fault of the bravado, knee-jerk absurdities of George W. Bush, on whose watch, while asleep, not literally, but figuratively, 9/11 occurred. What did the government know before 9/11? Ah, might that come out at the trial? Khalid Sheikh Mohammed knows what the government knew before 9/11.
Certainly a fascinating story, and you're going to want to read more over at his website at judgenap.com. The judge does host his weekly column there, as well as much of his other great content. And of course, his daily Judging Freedom podcast, which you can download on your mobile devices. Judge, I'd like to dwell into the realm of big mega brain territory today and have a discussion with you. I frequently like to have conversations with you about the more esoteric elements of libertarian philosophy. And this is a conversation that I've wanted to have with you for quite some time, and I'm glad that we can finally have it in public. But in dealing with the question of the initiation of force, this is something that forms a centerpiece of libertarian philosophy. And yet, knowing the fact that it's quite common in libertarian circles for us to lob accusations at one another. You're not a real libertarian. Oh, you're not a real libertarian, right? You're not a real libertarian, right? You and I even frequently say, they're a true North libertarian, which means, they're a real libertarian, right? Or we refer to each other as that way.
Yes.
But
Yes, we even had a hand signal for True North. I think I'm doing it the way you not that one. You taught me this years ago.
Yes. True North. Yes, True
There
North.
you go.
Yes, but Judge, over the years I've given lectures at universities, and one of my most popular lectures is always the 10 different types of libertarians. And in it, I sort of explain, the difference between an anarcho-capitalist and a constitutionalist, or the difference between a minarchist and a classical liberal. And so knowing that there are, all these different types of libertarians, it sort of makes this conversation about who's a real libertarian or not, one of a subjective matter. But in the question of the non-aggression principle, I think most libertarians agree with the non-aggression principle in that it is immoral to initiate force. However, some libertarians criticize this for several reasons, but one I'd like to introduce to you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one, how you would respond to this. Right? If you question, the initiation of force, right, the definition of force is one that we have to agree on, which of course I think you and I know that liberals don't agree with us on the definition of force. They think that, racism is an initiation of force because it's a microaggression or what have you. But let's consider the example of pollution, right? Rothbard himself, recognized that industrial pollution violates the non-aggression principle, so therefore it must be prohibited, right? But he didn't really draw out the full implications of that principle. If you're for industrial capitalism, if you want to drive a car, therefore you will pollute. And if I don't consent to breathing in the toxic fumes of the emissions of your vehicle, you're violating my rights and initiating force against me. How do we sort of square that circle there in the concept of the initiation of force with the problems of pollution?
Well, the problem of pollution is a difficult one because we can't really have an industrialized society without some minimal level of pollution. But theoretically, the introduction of pollutants into the atmosphere is an initiation, is a form of aggression. It just depends upon the level of that initiation. Some of it is so small, it's de minimis. You driving your car in Jefferson City, Missouri, is not going to affect my lungs in Newton, New Jersey. Even me driving a car in Newton, New Jersey, candidly, it's a country farming area. It's not the middle of Manhattan. Is probably not going to affect the lungs of people even waiting to cross the street while I'm stopped at a stoplight. So there's a certain de minimis. There's a certain minimal level of pollution that we tolerate, A, because it's immeasurable, and B, because it's harmless. But if you're talking about significant amounts of pollution or intentional pollution, that obviously is an act of aggression, and if it's intentional, it's an assault. And of course, you can utilize the government to prosecute it.
So then,
I, of course, believe that government's only legitimate role is to protect natural rights. And I have the natural rights to breathe air that is relatively free, not perfect air, but air that is relatively free. If it be free of pollutants, if it becomes unfree of pollutants, then government's not doing its job.
So then is it the proper role of government, Judge, in your mind, to set at least a minimal regulatory standard for carbon emissions, to require that
No.
cars must be fitted with a what are they called? The device that gets stolen all of the time in order to prevent a
Yeah, I
catalytic
forget what you
converter.
call. I forget what you call it, but it does get stolen all the time. It's got some precious metals
Right, the
in there.
catalytic converter.
Right, right. No, it is not the job of government to set those standards. Government can't do anything right. Government would set standards that please its patrons. It's the job of private individuals to set those standards. I harm you, you sue me. You harm my neighbors sue you. Demonstrate in a court of law how we were harmed. This does not justify government putting its thumb on the scales in order to collect more money and impose more regulations and tell people how to live. Now, some would argue, isn't it more efficient?
How could I sue someone, Judge, if there's no law for me to sue them under for them polluting the air if my neighbor's not using a catalytic converter and I have to go and pay a scientist to prove that my child got asthma because my next door neighbor, has a monster diesel truck that's putting out emissions in my.
Yes, that is far better for human liberty than the government telling your next door neighbor how to live. And when more people do this, the less expensive it will be, and the more efficient it will be. I would rather a system of laws by litigation than a system of regulation by politicians, because litigation is geared towards the harm caused by one individual to another individual. Legislation is geared towards how can I get reelected?
Now, the next question that I had for you, Judge, is with the non-aggression principle is the all or nothing attitude towards risk, right? Right. It's wrong obviously for me to shoot you in the head, but what if I merely run the risk of shooting you by putting one bullet in a 6-shot revolver, spinning the cylinder, aiming it at your head, and squeezing the trigger? But what if it's not one bullet, but 5, right? Because almost everything that we do imposes some risk of harm or innocent persons, right? When we drive on the highway, we take a certain amount of risk, and that's an acceptable amount of risk. But drunk driving is a question that, anarcho-capitalists, people like Lou Rockwell and other friends of ours from the Mises Institute, they argue that unless you actually, hit someone behind the wheel of a vehicle, then you haven't actually done any harm to them. Simply drunk driving in itself is not a violation of the non-aggression principle and therefore should be allowed. But I didn't agree. I didn't consent when I got on a highway to get on a highway with people who are under the influence of alcohol. And I don't consent to that amount of risk. I think a reasonable amount of risk is fine, but not to get on, behind the wheel and to have to take a risk with people who are under the influence. How much risk is someone else allowed to take with my life, Judge?
Well, the other side of that coin is that if we define crime without using the word harm, if we make people criminals who haven't harmed a hair on the head of anyone else, then there will be no limit to whom the government can characterize as criminals. It is none of the government's business what the contents of my veins are at any given moment, unless I've harmed someone. The problems came about with a revision of American criminal laws circa 72, 73, 74, 75, where all states' criminal laws were, except for Louisiana, were redefined, and they dropped the word harm from the definition of crime. That allows the state to condemn any behavior that it wants. And I wouldn't give that authority to the state. I would rather drive a tank. And I remember once you asking if you could have a tank in your garage. This was at Fox, and the executive producer, Gary Schreier, was going apoplectic at the time. And of course, I defended the right of Austin Peterson to own whatever the government owns. Not literally a tank, but a vehicle strong enough to protect you from the vagaries of a driver who's not properly driving his car. That is a higher good than taking away somebody's right to drive because of the contents of their blood when they haven't harmed anybody.
Sure, but I guess the question is, what is an allowable amount of risk that someone else is allowed to take with your life? I mean, am I allowed to point a gun at someone if there's no bullet in the chamber? Can is it a violation of the non-aggression principle for me to point an unloaded gun at you?
Yes, that's an act of aggression. Remember, the non-aggression principle prohibits aggression. It doesn't just prohibit force. So aggression is behavior that is forceful, deceptive, intentionally fear-inducing. Pointing a gun at me, like Alec Baldwin, would certainly be fear-inducing because I wouldn't know if it's loaded, and in your hypothetical, you wouldn't know if the chamber that's about to be struck by the trigger, if you pulled it, is empty or not. So that clearly violates the non-aggression principle. If done for a frivolous reason, it's even worse. If done because you think I'm about to rob your house or harm your children, then you're not the aggressor, I am. And then you're pointing that gun at me is perfectly protected morally and in most states legally.
But of course, the question is, knowing that the person was actually, if they had an unloaded gun, they were incapable of initiating force or aggression. It didn't matter in my mind because the person, I didn't know that. And so I would be legally justified in firing at them, even though they did not technically commit an act of force, but you would
Yes.
call it an aggression. Judge,
Yes.
can I
If
ask?
you rob a bank with a starter's pistol, something that looks like a gun and sounds like a gun, but can't shoot anything, you've engaged in an act of aggression of such magnitude that deadly force can be used on you. That's your own damn fault for doing something as reprehensible and unjustifiable morally as that.
One of our commenters has a good question in there. What about drunk driving in a tank? If you're just if you're just
Ask Colonel McGregor. Ask Colonel McGregor if that's ever happened. The great tank commander.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. He's the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, which you can download on any mobile devices. I've got a few more minutes with him, and I love to pick his brain about these topics. We're talking big brain, libertarian concepts this morning. This is what you get here that you don't get anywhere else. A couple more things before I let you go, Judge. I'm excited to ask you about this one as well. Is the non-aggression principle parasitic on a theory of property, meaning that without an underlying concept and defense of private property first, there can be nothing to aggress against? My question to you is it am I legitimate in arguing or in refuting the non-aggression principle as the foundational basis of libertarianism on the grounds that one must first define what is being aggressed against? Or otherwise, if you do not have a foundational concept of private property, then committing force against what? Committing fraud against what? Where is the violation occurring? And therefore, the non-aggression principle resides on a higher level of the pyramid of rights, and the underlying concept of private property resides below it.
The reason I'm shaking my head is because this is a dividing line, even amongst the true North people, the Rothbardians, those who derive their theories of freedom as articulated best in the modern era by the great Murray Rothbard. For them, property is the be-all and the end-all of rights. The Thomists, as in St. Thomas Aquinas, who believe that our rights come from our humanity, and it doesn't matter on what property you're standing, you still have the rights, do not have property as the be-all and the end-all. The non-aggression principle is a modern articulation of the principle of natural rights, but the non-aggression principle is based exclusively on property. I own my body. I own or have dominion over via a lease the land that I happen to be on. I can exclude anybody from that land, and I can exclude anybody from my body, including the government. Natural law says that we have certain natural rights that come from our humanity, that are always with us, that are inalienable, that can only be transgressed by the government if we violate somebody else's natural rights. But you don't have to own property. You don't have to be on private property. The right to use, own, and exclude private property is just one of the natural rights. It is not the central one. Natural law, the central right is the right to live. Non-aggression principle, the central right is the right to own property, which means to use, to alienate, sell, or lease, and to exclude.
See,
this is where I disagree with my friends in Auburn, Alabama, the Mises Institute, when they, even the traditional Catholics among them, ground their views in property. I ground my views in humanity.
Okay, I have only a few more minutes left, Judge. God, I could do this for hours, but I want to ask you two more questions very briefly. Now, what about the children? I think I've asked you this before, but I think this, necessarily flows from this one. Rothbard also wrote in his book Ethics of Liberty, in regarding the non-aggression principle, regarding the initiation of force, that the rights of children themselves, are the same as adults. In arguing this, he states that a parent who murders a child obviously initiates force, but that there is no positive requirement of an adult to feed a child, right? To extract resources from an adult to require them to feed a child, meaning that if a child is starved to death by their parent, the parent has maybe committed an immoral act, but has not committed a crime. Should it be a crime punishable by written law, positive law, Judge, that a parent who starves their child to death by neglect should be forcibly jailed for committing a crime against another
Well,
human?
the short answer is yes. The longer answer is this is where libertarians who derive their beliefs from property rights, the right of the parent not to be compelled to give away a piece of bread and a bottle of milk, and libertarians who do believe in property, who do believe in natural rights, the right of the child to live is a higher right than the right of the parent to own the property. This is where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, on the property rights-based libertarians and the natural rights-based libertarians. Those of us on the natural rights side would say the right to live is the highest right, is a higher right than the right of the parent to conserve food resources. The property rights people would say the government has no business telling you what to do with your own property. So that's the breakdown right there. To me, that's not even a close call. But I recognize the arguments from the other side, even the Catholics.
See, Judge, this is such good stuff. Okay, so after over 15 years of study and research, and yourself and Ron Paul and Rothbard and others contributing so greatly to my own philosophical beliefs, there is one person who I think has articulated our ideology in manifesto form that I think most closely represents my beliefs. And that is Anarchy, State, and Utopia by Robert Nozick, who wrote this in the 1970s. And in this, he defines the perfect, I guess, essential libertarian state. And out of this comes a philosophical view that we call a night watchman state, or as I sometimes term it, minarchy. Every time I say it, people think I mean monarchy, which of course is not what I'm saying.
Right.
But so I consider myself, someone who is a believer in the principles of the Constitution of the United States, and believe in the principles of constitutional minarchy, not monarchy, but minarchy. And I consider myself to be a minarchist, someone who believes in a state, a minimal state that is charged with protecting life, liberty, and property. Cops, courts, nukes, pretty much nothing else. Are you an anarcho-capitalist, Judge, or are you a constitutionalist?
Well, you'll have to tell me what I am. I basically am in the same camp as you. I believe in an absolute minimum government, the sole justification for which is to protect natural rights, period, and to do nothing more. So I might be a little bit more minimal than you, but I recognize that if my neighbor is going to steal my cow from my pasture, now I'm talking like it's 500 years ago, or everybody lives out in the sticks like where I do, the government can take the cow and return it. Just as I could go and take the cow and bring it back, the government could do it for me. So government can do what is needed to protect natural rights and no more.
Well, then
Whether that's an anarcho-capitalist or a minarchist, I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what you are, Judge, since you said that I can. You are a statist.
Oh, God. I love you, but you're crazy.
Just kidding, Judge. Just kidding. I'm getting that little message that's telling me I'm running out of time, Judge. I've got to go. It's been a great conversation. Who's on Judging Freedom, by the way, today?
Oh, I have some. Yesterday, I had Doug McGregor for a half an hour, and he was at his passion at best. Today, it's just me. But last week, when it was just me, I sat in front of the camera and for 10 minutes ripped apart Joe Biden for sending aid to Ukraine. 360,000 views.
Wow, Judge, you are absolutely killing it, Judge. Judge Andrew Napolitano, the host of the Judging Freedom podcast, our good friend, and, well, we'll just call him a lover of limited government. Judge, thank you very much. We appreciate you very much. Have a great day.
All the best, my man.
Thank you very much. Judge Andrew Napolitano, this is why you watch the Wake Up America show. You can't get that view or conversation anywhere else but right here. Coming up next, Daniella Pentsak. I'm going to go to commercial break. I'll cut the commercial short, I promise. I'm going to go get Daniella. We're going to talk about a New Jersey teacher who was bawling her eyes out in front of her kids, acting a damn fool. All that and more when we get back on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. Did you like that interview with the judge? Oh, boy. There's Big Brain, and then there's Mega Brain. What are we going to do tonight, Brain? Try to take over the world. Oh, you can't, Brain, because that would violate the non-aggression principle. Thanks so much for tuning into the show today. Don't forget, we are trying to get at least one good monthly subscriber today. I'm asking one person to join us by either subscribing over on our YouTube channel for $2.99 a month or become a member of Peterson's Patriots for just $17.76 a month over at wakeupAmericaShow.com/support. Help us build the new game in town, the Libertarian Daily Wire. Already, we've got exciting announcements and developments and things happening. Our very first staffer started this week. Let's give Nathan a round of applause if you haven't met him. Say hi to him in the chat. Nathan Clark is going to be running the online store for a little while, and then we'll start slowly working him into content creation as well. Our next guest, somebody whose career we've been following with great interest as well. She's a field coordinator over at Turning Point USA and a liberty lover herself with the cutest chihuahua west of the Mississippi River. She's Daniella Pentsak. Good morning, Daniella.
Good morning. Yes. So today I want to talk about the crying teacher story. It's quite interesting. Last month, a teacher from New Jersey was filing to sue the South Orange Maplewood School District because she said that she was forced to resign after crying every day in the classroom. According to her, she was teaching a standard kindergarten classroom, and then she was transitioned into a special ed classroom without giving the proper professionals to help her with that transfer. And that caused her a lot of emotional distress. And so she essentially had panic attacks every day in the class. And look, I can kind of understand. I mean, she's not prepared or equipped to teach special ed. And from what I hear, that's a very difficult field to get into. And it was probably negligent on the school's part. But at the same time, I just got to ask the people defending her or this teacher herself, whatever happened to emotional discipline? Listen, I understand that it's hard, but if you're crying every day, if you're having panic attacks every day at your job, your source of income, maybe that's a sign that it's time to find alternative pathways or, do the old-fashioned job switcheroo, maybe look for, apply for other jobs. And she could have even just given an ultimatum to her superiors and said, hey, look, I can't do this. It's overwhelming. Give me another role or I'm leaving. And yeah, that's a difficult position to be in. I can understand, but that's also kind of that's real life. We can't always get what we want right away. And look, I do want to say this. I have been seeing, and I'm sure if you have children out there and to the audience, if you have children in public schools, or if you have family or friends like I do that work in public schools and in public education, from what I've been hearing since COVID, there has been a concerning trend of coddling students emotionally and mentally with this mental health rhetoric. And mental health, it is a very important topic to talk about. I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it, but I think we need to go back to discipline in the classroom, and because it seems to be now bleeding over to faculty and staff. And I don't think that's very responsible, especially if you're a teacher. You should be the strong person in the classroom, not the weaker individual here emotionally. So I hope we can maybe reintroduce some discipline in the classroom once again, some emotional discipline as well.
If the teacher doesn't have emotional discipline, what hope do the students have for having any kind of emotional discipline? Was there any word or like a deeper explanation for exactly why this teacher was bursting into tears all the time with her kids? I mean, was it a result of the kids, or was she airing her frustrations to the class, or what's the backstory here?
According to the teacher, she said that she wasn't give. So they have like paraprofessionals that can assist her in doing this and in teaching a special ed classroom. But she said that she wasn't given those resources, and for whatever reason, the school couldn't provide that with her, and that was overwhelming for her. And again, like I said, I understand it could be overwhelming. I mean, special ed is no easy task. So she just decided, but instead of like I said, instead of giving an ultimatum, and again, we don't know the reason for why the school couldn't provide the professionals for her. She insisted on getting those paraprofessionals instead of maybe, asking for other options, asking for another role. She really wanted aid there to help her in the classroom. And so personally, what I think is happening here, I don't think she was overwhelmed so much as she was looking for attention. And so she just decided to kind of like cry bully the situation and see if she can get attention that way. But I guess she got a little bit more attention than what she bargained for. And she just basically was fired, just to put it, bluntly.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm speaking to Daniella Pentsak. She is a field coordinator for Turning Point USA. We're talking about a teacher in New Jersey who would frequently burst into tears randomly in front of her students in class. Daniella, apparently she's not the only one to do things like this, because somebody actually messaged in this morning over on Rumble and told us the story about how their second grade teacher would frequently air her grievances or like talk about her personal problems in front of the class, in front of the students. And it's like when you see a lot of these like TikToks from like libs of TikTok, et cetera, like these teachers, some of them like obviously have an agenda of the reasons that they want to talk to kids about whatever reason to indoctrinate them in communism or what have you. But like other ones, it's almost as if like some of these people are going into the teaching profession as a way to sort of, I don't know, like deal with their mental health issues in front of children. It's just what is this strange behavior?
Exactly. And yeah, exactly. We now that, people are filming themselves and putting it on the internet, we see more examples of this. But in the libs of TikTok or anything on TikTok, really, if you follow any public educators, you see this concerning trend of them basically wanting to talk about every aspect of their personal life. And I remember when I was going to elementary school, that wasn't even up in the air at all. I mean, yeah, you'll see a picture on their desk, maybe with their husband or their spouse, and that's perfectly fine. But we are seeing, I think, a very concerning trend of teachers wanting to air their personal grievances or their personal life to students, as young as elementary school, and that is just I mean, that's just really disturbing to me. That's not a topic, that's an agenda of the class. Whatever happened to reading, writing, arithmetic? But instead we're learning about LGBT teachers. And frankly, I think that's just a more of an argument towards homeschooling. And we're seeing more and more statistically parents put their kids in homeschool because the public school institution is just falling apart. And like I said, we're just emotionally coddling now teachers as well as the students. And I I think we need to return back to discipline,
Yeah, no kidding.
frankly.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. Oh, I love to see it. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking to Daniella Pentsak. She is a field coordinator for Turning Point USA. But I mean, in terms of the mental health issues, I don't want to diminish people who have actual mental health issues. But the problem is, Daniella, is that it feels as if it's actually a fad, or it's cool to be what the kids are calling neurodivergent, which was definitely not a thing when I was a kid. But I mean, I imagine you being much younger than myself. I imagine it wasn't a thing when you were a kid either to want to, like, if you had a problem with mental health when I was a kid, you'd get bullied.
Yes, the whole neurodivergent thing, and again, when I was going to school, at least as far as elementary, middle school, I have never heard that term. I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, we definitely have a epidemic of overdiagnosis in America. And again,
And
I'm not trying to say that.
self-diagnosis.
And oh, especially self-diagnosis. And I'm not saying those things aren't valid. I mean, mental health is an important field. We do need to research it and understand the human brain and the mind and how it works. But yeah, when it comes to like things like learning in the class, maybe learning your history, learning how to read, I don't think those things maybe should be forefront and center of education. In the developmental years of a child, they probably shouldn't be introduced to these complex topics like neurodivergence or even, sexuality, and that there are the LGBT thing going on. I don't think that's really necessary to discuss in the developmental years of a child, where they should be learning how to maybe add 2 plus 2. Maybe the teachers should probably focus on that part. But yes, the self-diagnosis, the overdiagnosis um, situation that we're seeing in this epidemic that's happening is definitely concerning. And I think that parents should be a little bit more wary of what the media that their children consume online, first of all, because that's where a lot of these things come from, is what they see online, especially TikTok. From what I understand, when TikTok, especially during the COVID, uh, there was like a rise in diagnosis of like Tourette's syndrome, because there was like a fad on TikTok of having Tourette's. And if you look it up, the statistics are there. There has been a spike in diagnosis of that. I personally know a few young kids that were diagnosed with Tourette's after being on TikTok for a year. And I've known those kids. I don't know. I have never seen any example of them have Tourette's. And now, we're seeing this happen with, of course, like all kinds of sexualities in the LGBT movement. Kids think that they are, asexual or they're non-binary. There's definitely a social contagion element happening, and parents need to be more aware of that and more conscious of what media their children are consuming.
Man, I love that social contagion. It's a great word, as well as cry bowling. Danielle, you're full of them. What do you got? You've got a master's degree, don't you? What's your master's degree in?
Public policy.
Public policy. No wonder you're
Yeah.
so smart, Daniela. Are there any other stories that you're tracking that you'd like to share, or anything else that you'd just like to share with our listeners before we let you go today?
Well, I just want to focus on this topic today, in that, like I said, I have family that work in public education, and public education definitely a necessary institution, but it's getting out of hand, I think, with the way that we're dealing with our students. When I was going to school, we were only there to do one thing, and that was to learn. We were there to learn how to read. We were there to do math, how to write eloquently. That's kind of the things that I think matter more than human sexuality or the headspace that some people may be in. I think that we should probably return more to tradition when it comes to education, especially education in elementary school, the most crucial time in human development. And so, I feel sorry for this teacher for having to leave and to resign, understandably so. But it's probably a good thing that the school stood strong against this, because if she was allowed to get her way, I think we would have been seeing a more of a trend of, teachers get their way in the classroom, and that shouldn't be the
Crying in
case.
front of kids, it sure is weird. Reject modernity, embrace tradition, says Daniella Pentsak. Daniella, thank you very much for your time today. Great report. As always, we appreciate your input, and great vocab words today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. What do you think of Daniella Pentsak? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Did we get a monthly subscriber yet? I'm going to go check. And see if we did. If we did, then we get to celebrate. Yay! If we didn't, oh, boo. So every day, we always try and grow every one little single way. I'm going to go check on the commercial break. When we get back, I'll either be crying or I'll be doing a dance naked in front of the camera. Well, maybe not dancing, but definitely naked. On the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Good morning to the Cantina crew. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, The trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Well, sadly, nobody has signed up for a membership today. I know. Don't panic, okay? There's still time, right? As you can see, Amanda Henry, she's got those 2 gold bars next to her name, right? And if you sign up for a monthly subscription through YouTube today, even the $2.99 Freedom Ninja membership, if you liked the show and you want to continue to get this kind of content, you'll get a little Statue of Liberty next to your name. So why don't you do it now?
No, God! No, God!
What do you mean, no?
No!
Are you trying to make me? Just think about it. Just for $2.99 a month, help support the show, get more content just like this every single day. Interviews like Judge Napolitano, Daniella Pentsak, more great content, my commentary every single day. Help support the show by subscribing through YouTube at youtube.com/AP4Liberty. But I get it. Not everybody can. It's no big deal. Where else are you going to read or hear stories like this? I'm 21 and my daughter's 15. Her teachers never take me seriously. What the hell? This one's a real mother fluster. Drinking, partying, and hooking up is usually the domain of 21-year-olds but unlike most of her Gen Z cohorts, 21-year-old Hunter Nelson, she's not a wild party animal. Instead, she's a full-time parent to a teenager. Me driving down the road and realizing I'm 21 with a 15-year-old. She wrote on TikTok, no other parents or staff members at her high school are going to take me serious, she says. I can already feel people asking me what grade I'm in when I go to her events. How am I going to teach her how to drive when I can barely get down the road, she says. I love overthinking. Her eye-popping post prompted a cloudburst of questions from concerned commentators. How does that work? You were 6 when you had a baby? Someone asked the question. This video make it sound like you had a child at the age of 6. Is that what you wanted it to come across? Oh my God, you had a kid at 6. Everybody's asking this question. But in a subsequent clip, Nelson unpacked the details of her peculiar parenting predicament. I did not have a baby when I was 6, she says. I recently filed for guardianship of my sister a few months ago. I felt the best way to keep my sister safe, happy, and to have all her needs and wants met was to come live with me. Nelson explained that their father passed away in 2015 and that her half-sister, Gracie, had also lost her mother too shortly thereafter. And then upon learning that Gracie was in danger of being placed in foster care, Nelson petitioned the courts for guardianship of her teen sister. It's 100% legal, but of course, becoming an overnight parent to her little sister sparked a lot of family drama. She apparently received a bunch of death threats from members of Gracie's maternal bloodline who didn't want her to be awarded the parental rights. The girl's aunt even apparently tried to hire a lawyer in an attempt to try and thwart her plea for custody. She didn't want to have delicious Andy's custard. Nelson also admitted that Gracie too protested her move for guardianship. She didn't want to come with her at first. She threw a fit, and I thought she was, gonna, off herself in the bathroom. She was very upset, but I felt like I was doing what was best for her, even though it was very hard for both of us. And then Gracie agreed, advising others, who might find themselves in a similar situation as this, put the kids' safety and pride and necessities over their emotions. Sometimes they're not going to be happy about it, she warned, but you just got to do it. What do you think about that? A 21-year-old adopting a 15-year-old half-sister, becoming a mom? I mean, lots of people became moms at younger ages, right? But to 15-year-old teenagers, I don't know. What do you think? I mean, it's kind of weird, though. My initial thought when I read that story, though, was, wait a minute. She's 21 and her daughter's 15. She had a kid when she was 6 years old. That was my immediate thought, too. And she probably, for the TikTok clout, did her first video to make it sound like that, don't you think? Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you very much to everybody. We've had a nice big crowd today. Good amount of people, yeah. It was exciting to see those numbers, especially all the people who love to stick around for that Big Brain Talk with Judge Andrew Napolitano. Every Wednesday, the judge joins us on the program. You don't get conversations like that anywhere else. Tomorrow being Thursday, Thirsty Thursday, we will be drinking on the show. So pick your favorite alcohol, and I will be throwing it back on the set. No, just kidding. I would probably throw up. It's way too early in the morning. Well, I know some people like some Bloody Marys, but I'm more of a mimosa guy. What about you? God, don't you wish it was Friday? I sure do. Well, have you been enjoying the Guns of the President series? Have you enjoyed the new short videos? God, those things have been killing it. I've almost got 1 million views on my FDR video. I know, I'm super excited. Camellia says, if I died tomorrow, I'd be okay with Anna Rosa having custody of her sister. 6-year difference. Well, there you go. Not a bad idea. Okay, now to Off Camellia. We got to run. It's 2 minutes till 9, and I got some commercials to play. Thanks so much for tuning into the program today. Do us a favor, if you wouldn't mind. Send us a super chat before you go. If you don't do a monthly subscription, just one little super chat will be a great way to help support the program, to help us to continue to build a libertarian daily wire. Yes, that's right. We will be the next generation of the future of liberty leaders from this freezing cold studio in Jefferson City, Missouri, to the towering heights of, well, wherever we end up. It can all be in your hands. Thanks so much, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Hello, this is Barack Obama, and let me tell you why Austin Peterson stinks, and you should never pay attention to anything that he has to say. First of all, he's a libertarian, and we all know libertarians are idiots. They don't realize how important government is to everything that we do. I recently became aware that Austin has opened up a libertarian shop at apeforlibertyshop.com. Now, I'm asking you as a personal favor to me that you never ever visit apeforlibertyshop.com. With all of the great Liberty merchandise there, the last thing that we need to do is to get people spreading this message around the country, because then they might start thinking that they don't need government. And that's the last thing that good Democrats like us want. So if you love democracy, like me, and hate freedom, then don't visit AP for Liberty Shop. Like I said, whatever you do, do not visit aporlibertyshop.com. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.